G'day, welcome back to another review. Today I'm going to talk about Last Stop Tokyo, which is James Bruckler's first novel. He's only written two, and that's the first one. Am I going to read the second? Before I talk about that book, I just wanted to touch on the book I just read just before that, which was Sarah Paretsky's Brushback. It's the 17th edition in the V.I. Warshawski series. I keep getting close to messing that up. Anyway, I've read quite a few of hers, obviously, well, all 17. There's 22 so far. Very enjoyable book. Typically, Paretsky writes really well, has her characters that keep reappearing in her stories. Again, it's a fast-paced, page-turner. It's hard to put the book down. I had trouble, so I go to bed and I think I'll just read one more paragraph or one more chapter and I've got to read another one. And eventually I just got to put the book down. The characters are still good. She's getting old in her detective years, in her 50s. And that means some of the other characters that she deals with are also pretty old, like her neighbour, Mr. Contreras. He's in his 90s. And I wonder at what point these people are going to pass away. There's also Captain Mallory in there, who was the friend of her father's when he was in the police force. And he's still in the police force. I'm thinking, should he have retired by now? I'm not really sure what's happening there. But anyway, Mr. Contreras, when he goes, I've just got this suspicion. I know the books have already been written, but I've just got this suspicion that he's going to go out in a blaze of glory or some sort of hero. Because you just can't kill him off just like that. he's got to be some sort of hero. That's just what I think. And her good long-time doctor friend Lottie, she's getting on too, and she can't keep running the clinic that she does. So, in the next few more books, within the next 5, some of these people have to pass away. So it'll be interesting reading. She's quite a character, V.I. Warshawski. She, gets the job done and she pushes the limits. She's always breaking these boundaries with the police, who are always annoyed by her, but at the same time they've got to respect what she does. She again gets fairly seriously injured. It's amazing how she survived. But anyway, she's the hero of the book, and I know a lot of women out there love her, and a lot of guys too. So she keeps battling on and achieving and solving those cases. She gets caught up in these freebie sort of charity sort of jobs that she does, and they seem to take up much of her time, but somehow she slips back, and for an hour she's solved all the other clients' problems with her at the time. So yeah, she's amazing. So if you haven't read any Sarah Paretsky novels, I highly recommend you get into this series. It's really well written. Some of the books are better than others. This one was really good, Brushback, and I look forward to reading some more of hers. Anyway, back to the story that I was going to talk about today. So, Last Stop Tokyo by James Bruckler is his first book, and it came out in 2017. He's written another book called The Simpler Truth. It's only his second book, and that came out last year. I haven't read it. I'm not sure how it compares to this one. James Bruckler, he hasn't been an author all that long, obviously, but he was mainly in the film and television industry. He's a Londoner, but has lived in the USA and Japan. And this book, obviously, by the title you can tell, it's based in Japan. And it paints a very good picture of lifestyles in Japan and the business type scenario, how people are in business world. And the main character, well, one of the main characters, Alex Malloy, he's escaped his previous life. He just wanted to leave it all behind because his brother got killed in an accident that he was present for. Anyway, due to his brother being the golden child, if you like, and him not wanting to disappoint his parents, and they blamed him for a lot of the stuff that happened, he just decided to head off somewhere, start afresh, so he's gone to Japan. While he's over there, he meets this lovely girl, Nako, I think you pronounce it. And she's quite the businesswoman. She's accomplished a lot, and she works for a gallery, and she's got a bit of a hidden past that eventually gets exposed to her detriment. But anyway, her and Alex are a bit of a couple, but it's kept secret for a few reasons, and eventually it comes out. They have an argument, and they're very volatile at times. And anyway, during their argument, she's slashed him across the face. Neighbours get upset and someone calls the police, but Alex is gone by then because he just can't take it, so he just leaves of his own accord. And when he comes back, the police are there because he decides to come back and talk to Nako one more time, and the police arrest him. He ends up in jail for a short time, and while he's in jail, there's a sort of appeasement that gets done where, because Nako doesn't want him to go to jail and face criminal prosecution and jail time and all that sort of stuff, because she made some of the story up, or a fair bit of the story up. But she sort of had to protect her own, what's the word? You know how Japanese save face all the time? She didn't want to look bad and lose her prestige, etc., in the company she was working for. So she sort of wanted him to be in trouble, not her, but at the same time she felt bad that he would have to serve time. So an idea comes up where he could just pay her some money. He's got to come up with the money, and in a shifty way he gets seduced into borrowing money from the wrong people. Anyway, it's sort of, he gets let out, and Nako and him sort of connect again, and but he still owes all this money. So he's got to do something that he doesn't really want to do, but he has to. And so he undertakes to take some drugs from Thailand back to Japan. So the people that have hired him for this, they've sort of forced him into it. But they've paid for his trip and everything, and he's having a great old reconnection with Nako after they had a bit of a falling out. But she finds out what's happening there. So he's got to go back and take these drugs with him. Now, he does go back. He basically throws himself on the line saying, whatever happens to me happens. As it turns out, the drugs were not in the bag that he expected them to be when customs checked his bags. So what's happened to the drugs? So it turns out that Nako's had the drugs, which I suspected she might have done this. But then this leads to a whole bunch of other problems. And when he was in jail originally, he sort of, not befriended, but he sort of earned a little bit of the trust of the inspector. And so he sort of embarks upon trying to get him to help him out of the situation that he's found himself in. A plan is formed, and they try to take down the kingpins of this whole drug organisation. We're talking like Yakuza. So, you know, pretty scary sort of people. And he actually has met these people when they were wheeling and dealing with him a little bit earlier on. So a plan is formed to implicate these people so the inspector can take these people down. He wants to take down the kingpins, Mr. Tanaka. It's a good Japanese name, isn't it? So they have this plan, and it sort of works and it sort of doesn't. The inspector gets what he needs through recordings and so forth, but when they have the rendezvous with the bad people, one of the crooks there gets a phone call from someone, and this is where you try to work out who's giving it all away. And one of his friends in Japan that he was pretty close to, Hiro, I sort of suspected that he was up to some sort of no good somewhere, because he's always trying to get Alex to leave Nako alone. So I figured he was jealous and wanted her for himself. Turns out that he's sort of involved. But anyway, one of the people at the rendezvous gets a phone call from someone, checks out Alex's shirt and realises it's been all recorded. And of course, all hell breaks loose. But the police turn up right there and sort of arrest these people. But he's still in trouble because these people know. And when you're dealing with, crime gangs and that sort of thing, you're never really safe. So Alex and Nako decide they've got to go somewhere. And you can well imagine it's called Last Stop Tokyo for a reason. But I was a little bit the ending was a bit of a surprise to me. I didn't think it would go that way, because most books sort of don't. And I liked that it went a different way than I expected, because I like things to be a bit different than normal. So the book itself, James Buckler writes it pretty well. I wouldn't say it's fast-paced and page-turny. There are some reviews on his website, jamesbuckler.com, where I saw that he only had one other book. And the reviews are from the Times and things like that. So, and they praise the book highly. I probably wouldn't go to the extreme as they have, but this is typical, isn't it? Of reviews that you see on books. They always write these amazing things, and I guess that helps sell the book. You're not going to write a bad review on the book itself, are you? So they're pretty good reviews. I wouldn't have written them so praiseworthy. It's not a bad attempt for a first book. I mean, I'd be happy if it was my first book. Like I said, it's not a page turner, but he does present the scenes pretty well. He paints good pictures. There's some really good scenes where Nako's got to, well, she's basically got to give herself up to this big fat sweaty lard ass, which is not a very nice scene, and she handles that pretty well. And there's some other scenes there when he's in prison and dealing with other prisoners. James Buckler paints a pretty good picture. You know, he does a good job there. I just found that some of the story was sort of just going along. It didn't worry me to put the book down for the night. I didn't really want to read another chapter, but it did get better towards the end. And I must admit, I had to finish the last two chapters this morning, because I was turning the last several chapters pretty quickly, but I had to go to bed. So I left the last two chapters, which they're not very big chapters, which is good, because I like flicking from one chapter to the next pretty quickly. So I read those chapters pretty quickly this morning, and I was satisfied with the ending. It was unexpected, but I was satisfied. I don't know what his second book, The Simple Truth, is like, but probably would read it. There was probably only a couple little things that I could probably pick on, and it's not really even worth mentioning, but I found it unusual at one point when he was getting sniffed out by the sniffer dog, the drug dog at the airport, and the dog sort of went berserk and carrying on. And I don't know if that's the case in Japan, whether they train their dogs like that, because I know here in Australia, drug dogs act quite differently. If they smell drugs on you, the way they indicate is just to sit down quietly beside you. They don't carry on and make a big noise. So I'm not sure if that's how it is in Japan. There was another bit in the story where Nako wanted to sort of enact a little bit of revenge against a lady or a work colleague that had, caused a lot of the problems for her. So she wanted to pay her back for that. So this girl's name's Megumi. And at one point, Megumi goes to the bathroom, and Nako decides to put something in her bag that might cause her trouble later. So I thought, hang on a minute, why did that girl go to the bathroom without her bag? So, I mean, women don't usually do that, do they? So, I mean, it was convenient that she left it behind so Nako could do what she did. Yeah, so Last Stop Tokyo, another $2 bargain. Hope you enjoyed my review, and I'll see you again for the next one. Today I'm going to be talking about The Last Stop... No, it's not. Buckler writes... Not Buckler. So the book itself... James Bruck... Oh, I keep saying Bruckler. It's not Bruckler.